You know, when I saw that John Lee Hancock had directed this, the name rang a bell. But I couldn't for the life of me think of what movies from him I'd seen. Well, it turns out that I'd actually seen his 4 previous movies and liked all of them. I thought The Highwayman was good, Saving Mr. Banks was really good, The Founder was very good, and The Blind Side was pretty good as well. And that got me excited for this one, because teaming up with Denzel Washington is rarely a bad move. Then you add Rami Malek and Jared Leto into the mix, and how could you possibly go wrong? Well, turns out you really can't, because this was actually pretty decent too. Not great, it had some issues, but I did find it to be sufficiently gripping and entertaining. There weren't really any glaring issues that would have managed to ruin any part of it for me either. But at the same time, there weren't really that many things that stood out as being particularly great either. I mean, first of all, it looks decent, but nothing about the visuals impressed me very much. The score worked, but felt pretty much like, I don't know, a bog standard score. And Denzel is Denzel, he's good, sometimes very good, and sometimes he overdoes it a bit. Which I feel like was the case with Rami Malek as well, because I usually really like him. But in this I feel like he made some poor choices with this particular character. But at the same time there were a few moments where he was excellent as well. Which I guess brings me to Jared Leto, because he pretty much stole the show here. He also did his usual thing, he went all out, fully immersed himself in the character, and at times it could feel a bit over the top too, but for some reason I think it really worked. Mainly because of the character, who he is and how he behaves, it fit. And as a result, once he was introduced into the story, it was his show, and I loved him in this. But what's the movie even about? Well, it's the kind of story we've all seen before. At least a variation of it, where we have this older cop and this younger cop. And they have a case they're working, and the case ends up being all they can think about. It's been done before, it's been done better too, but I do think this movie still worked. And this is pretty much also the epitome of a slow burn, because it takes a while for things to start to really develop. Or well, it actually starts to develop from the very first scene, but it takes a while to get going properly. For the pieces to start falling into place, and even then it never really picks up speed. And some people might not like that, because this one really just moves at a constant steady rate. It does have some intense moments here and there where things get heated for a scene or so, but they are relatively few and far between, and afterward the movie just settles back into its usual pace. But that didn't really bother me, because it still managed to keep things interesting and engaging enough. And at the end of the day I enjoyed this. It had some issues, but I enjoyed it. And my primary issues were actually some directorial and editorial choices. The way it was put together just felt a bit clumsy and even cheesy at times. And I did feel like the ending was a tad bit predictable, but at the same time it could have been worse too. They could have gone with something even more obvious, so I didn't really mind that either. And at the end of the day I feel like this one probably deserves a low 7. But does that mean I would recommend it? It's not a must-see by any stretch, but it's not a waste of time either. So maybe give it a peek, or maybe don't. After all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel, because that would be fantastic.